Okay, we need the overall purpose. This is a function question. So again, we have to read the whole thing and understand what is the purpose, the main purpose of the text here. So in 1973, poet Miguel Algarin started inviting other writers who, like him, were Neo-Corican, whatever that is, New-Yorcan, a term for New Yorkers of Puerto Rican heritage. There you go. That's what it is. Okay. To gather in its apartment to present their work. So he had these Puerto Rican writers gather to present their work in New York. The gatherings were so well attended that Algarin soon had to rent space in a cafe to accommodate them. Thus, the New Yorkan, I get it, it's Puerto Rican and New Yorkan together. It just occurred to me. Duh. The New Yorkan Poets Cafe was born. Moving to a permanent location in 1981, the New Yorkan Poets Cafe expanded its original scope beyond the written word. So, wow, okay, he started his apartment. He had to go to a cafe because it got bigger. And then they had to move to a permanent location in 81, 8 years later. And then they even had to expand their scope beyond writing to art exhibitions and music. And half a century since its inception, it continues to foster emerging New Yorkan talent. Okay, so it still exists 50 years later. So what's the purpose of this? To show how this writer started a project and it grew and he attracted all these New York Puerto Ricans or Puerto Rican New Yorkers, whichever way it is, and it just expanded over time. So to explain what motivated Algarin, no, it doesn't really explain what motivated him, right? It just says he started it, right? Not what motivated him. That's not right. To situate the New Yorkan Poets Cafe within the cultural life of New York as a whole. Where does it talk about New York life as a whole? Nowhere. That's not it. To discuss why the New Yorkan Poets Cafe expanded its scope to include, does it really say why? Is that the main purpose? That why they went beyond writing? No, it just grew, and it grew to the point where it grew beyond writing as well. That's not it. So A, B, and C are wrong. C is going to be the right answer. To provide an overview of the founding and mission of the New Yorkan Poets Cafe. That's correct. That's what this is about. D is your answer. Okay, overall structure of the text. We want to find the main purpose of this text, the function, essentially. So we have to read the whole thing, and let's see if we can ferret that out. What's the text doing? The following text is from the 1923 poem Blackfinger by Grimke, a Black American writer. A cypress is a type of evergreen tree. I have just seen the most beautiful thing, slim and tall, against a gold sky. A straight black cypress, sensitive, exquisite, a black finger pointing upwards. Why, beautiful still finger, are you black? And why are you pointing upwards? So what's the purpose of this? To point out that he found a cypress and it represents to him a black finger and it's pointing upwards. Well, he's a black writer and he's somehow pointing upwards. So he's curious. He obviously saw the tree and it meant something to him and he wrote about it. So is it to the speaker assesses a natural phenomenon, then questions the accuracy of her assessment? There's nothing about the accuracy. That's wrong. She questions why it's pointing upwards, right? The speaker describes a distinctive sight in nature. Okay, that's true. The cypress tree, the black cypress. Then ponders what meaning to attribute to that sight. Yeah, she wonders, why are you black and why are you pointing upward? What are you doing? So kind of your meaning. I don't know if that's so much the meaning, but it is asking somewhat about the meaning. So I'm going to hold on to that for now. The speaker presents an outdoor scene. Not really an outdoor scene. That's too broad. Then considers a human behavior occurring within that scene. It's not a human behavior. The tree looks like a black finger pointing up. That's not a human behavior. That's not correct. The speaker examines her surroundings. Well, she's examining her surroundings? No, she just said she saw a cypress tree. That's too broad again. Then speculates about their influence on her emotional state. No idea what her emotional state is. The correct answer is B. The speaker describes a distinctive sight, the cypress, and then she ponders what meaning to attribute to it. Why are you pointing upward? Why are you black? That's the answer, B. Eight, we need the main purpose of the text. So we want to know, what's the text functioning to do? Is it emphasizing uniformity, explaining limited work, revealing predictability, or arguing simplicity of life? Let's read. We've got to read the whole thing, as we always do on these. The following text is adapted from Charles Dickens' novel Hard Times. Coketown is a fictional town in England. Coketown contains several large streets, all very like one another, and many small streets still more like one another. So this is sounds like the Burbs. Everything's like one another. Inhabited by people equally like one another. Yeah, it really sounds like the Burbs. Who all went in and out at the same hours, with the same sound upon the same pavements to do the same work. Boy, this really sounds like people from the Burbs going into the city every day to commute. And to whom every day was the same as yesterday and tomorrow, and every year the counterpart of the last and the next. So what's the purpose of this text? To describe this unique town, Coketown, which is a fictional town from Charles Dickens. So to emphasize the uniformity, it is definitely emphasizing how everything's alike in both the town and the people who live there. I'm going to hold on to that for the moment. Let's check the others. To explain limited work opportunities, where does it talk about limited work opportunities? There are always elimination answers that just are not in the passage and do not make sense. C, to reveal how the predictability of the town, the town is predictable, but how it makes it easy, that's not in there. There's nothing that says it makes it easy or that people lose track of time. These ideas are wrong. So that's wrong. D, to argue. It's not really arguing. Nothing here is arguing, so I'm pretty sure this is wrong. To argue that the simplicity of life in town makes it a pleasant place to live. Again, that's a judgment. Doesn't say it's pleasant, right? That's wrong. What we're doing here is we're emphasizing over and over everything, all the people, all those sidewalks, everything's the same. It's uniform. A is correct. Okay, we have another main purpose. We need to figure out what's the text doing here. And we have to read the whole text as always on these. Is it illustrating a character's reaction, explaining why a character traveled to a city, comparing a character's thoughts to an event, or presenting a character's feeling of regret? Well, let's take a look. The following text is adapted from Paul Dunbar's 1902 novel, The Sport of the Gods. Joe and some of his family members have recently moved to New York City. Joe was wild with enthusiasm, with the desire to be a part of all that the metropolis meant. In the evening, he saw the young fellows passing by, dressed in their spruce clothes, and he wondered with a sort of envy where they could be going. Back home, there had been no place much worth going to except church and one or two people's houses. So what's the purpose of this? It's introducing Joe, his move to New York City, and his excitement, his curiosity on the new things in New York that he didn't have before at home. So what answer might match that? Does it illustrate a character's reaction to a new environment? Maybe. He was enthusiastic. That's a reaction. And he wanted to be part of the whole metropolis. And he questioned where they were going or wondered. Yeah, that's kind of his reaction. This looks pretty good. I'm going to keep that there for now. Let's check the others. It explains why a character has traveled to a city. No, it just says they moved to the city. We know nothing about why. No why is in there. That's not in the text. C, it compares a character's thoughts about an event to two different times of day. It's not about times of day, and there's no real comparison here to be made. Okay? Except the end, he mentions there's nowhere to go in his hometown other than church, right? And where's everybody going in this city? But that's not it. That's not the main idea. Or the function, I should say. D, it presents a character feeling regret. No, he doesn't feel regret. Are you kidding me? This guy feels enthusiasm. He feels wonder. A is the answer. It illustrates a character's reaction to his new environment. Okay, we need to best describe the overall structure. That's, again, the same thing as the main purpose of the text. What's it about? We've got to read the whole paragraph. And we're going to figure out what is it doing? What's its purpose? What's its function? And we always begin with a verb on the answer choices. Is it presenting a claim, discussing Van Gogh's influence, describing a similarity between artists, or describing the songs on some album or whatever? Okay, so musician Joni Mitchell, who is also a painter, uses images she creates for her album covers to emphasize ideas expressed in her music. Okay? So she's an artist, musician, she makes her own covers, and they reflect her music. For the cover of her album, Turbulent Indigo, Mitchell painted a striking self-portrait that closely resembles Vincent van Gogh's self-portrait with bandaged ear. Okay? Famous painting, right? If you've ever seen it, he's got his ear bandaged that he cut off, right? So the image calls attention to the album's title song, in which Mitchell sings about the legacy of the post-impressionist painter. In that song, Mitchell also hints that she feels a strong artistic connection to Van Gogh, an idea that is reinforced by her imagery on the cover. So what's the purpose of this? It's to introduce Joni Mitchell and highlight that she has this connection to Van Gogh. And she used it in her album cover, and it relates to her music and her song. So let's take a look at the answers. It presents a claim about Mitchell, then gives an example supporting that claim. I don't see a claim here. No real claim that I can really pick out here. I don't think that's going to be it. It discusses Van Gogh's influence on Mitchell, then considers Mitchell's influence on other artists. Is there anything here about other artists, her influence? Nope, not there. That's wrong. C, it describes a similarity between two artists, then notes a difference between them. So there is some similarity in where she feels a connection. Is that necessarily a similarity? I mean, she's a painter. She painted it to look like his. So that's, I guess, a similarity. The actual paintings and the cover are similar. And then where is the difference? Where do we note the difference? The image calls out the title, which was distinct about the legacy. In that song, Mitchell also hints that she feels a strong artistic connection. And it's reinforced. No, nothing says a difference. I don't think that's right. D, it describes the songs on Turbulent Indigo. Does it? The cover of the Turbulent Indigo, Mitchell. I don't think we're describing any songs on Turbulent Indigo. Then explains how they relate to the album's cover. Who's also a painter, used images for album's cover. Mitchell painted a striking self-portrait that resembles Van Gogh's self-portrait. It calls attention to the album's title song. So describes the songs plural. All it says is the title song, in which Mitchell sings about a post-impressionist painter. So it's not describing the songs and then how those songs relate to the cover. That's not right either. So hold on. It presents a claim about Mitchell, then gives an example supporting that claim. Joni Mitchell, who's a painter, uses the image she creates for her album to emphasize ideas expressed in her music. Okay, I guess that's a claim, right? She uses her cover to emphasize ideas in her music. That's the claim. And then supporting evidence is her cover is similar to Van Gogh's, and her song is about a post-impressionist painter. Yeah, I think that's going to be it. looks like A will be the right answer. The others don't make sense. That actually fits when I read it more carefully. But let's just check it. It discusses Van Gogh's influence on Mitchell and then considers her, again, no influence on her other artists. Describes the similarity between the two artists. We don't really know about a similarity. She's just, inspired by and feels a connection to Van Gogh. That's not necessarily a similarity of artists. And then notes a difference. Well, there's definitely no difference mentioned, right? So I don't think either of those is correct. It describes songs. No, it describes a song and explains how they relate to the album's cover. And the one song might relate to the album's cover, but it's not plural songs. I think it's the claim and then an example supporting that claim.